diving in here. All right. Back at it with Breath of Fresh Controversy podcast. My name is Zach. I'm here with Jay and Sway.
Jay and Sway.
We're going to be talking about... today, we're definitely going to get a little controversial. And we're going to be talking about some of the hypocrisy of limousine liberal types. And some of the people on the left side of the aisle. And don't worry, we can do we will be doing a few different podcasts that are lean into politics that will rip on the right as well.
You gotta fuck up both sides, man.
Oh yeah. And we probably will a little bit here, today a little bit too. But today we're really going to be focusing on more so some of the hypocrisy of the left.
Well, those wonderful people, they're just so elite and they're so well educated and they just know better than the rest of us unwashed, uncouth, uneducated peasants out here. I mean, we just need to follow the way and whatever they tell us. And when Matt Damon says, "Oh, this and that," and boy, I live next to Howard Zinn. I mean, just because I lived next to him for years, it was like osmosis. I got all of his left-wing intellectualism just fed into my brain. I breathed the same air as Howard Zinn for years, and I'm just so much better than you. And it's okay that my friend George Clooney has homes all over the world and in Italy and in California, makes this huge carbon footprint. It's okay. It's all good. It's okay. And
do as I say, don't do as I do.
It's just amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think they've gone way off the rails. I mean, we're all hypocrites, and hypocrisy's never going to go away. It's always going to take all different kind of shapes and forms, but these people are just incredible. Their preachiness, their self-righteousness, they're holier than thou in their own lefty version of holier than thou. It is really incredible. So I mean, if you're on the other side of the aisle, you're some whacked out lefty liberal listening to this right now, and you're like, oh yeah, I hate Joel Osteen and those kind of people. Hey, I get it. This is the flip side of that. That's what these Hollywood types are. These are the flip side. People are preaching to you. Just like a televangelist would preach to you about Jesus, and yet they run up a huge, all kinds of money, a huge salary, and live a lifestyle of a rock star or a Hollywood type. So, but today we're dealing with, you want to deal with the Hollywood type. So we can go there. We can go the other, we can the whole Joel Osteen thing some other time. So on the flip side.
That's my favorite. They make that big old carbon footprint, then they want to tell you to save the fucking environment, all at the same time while flying their private jets, right? That's how
right. I mean, Leonardo.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, Leonardo DiCaprio was giving a lot of speeches a few years back about this kind of stuff, and then I googled him a little bit, and he's got like 4 different yachts, and I guess yachts are I think they might leave a bigger carbon footprint than private jets.
Yeah.
And so it's like, which I didn't know either until I looked it up, and I was like, all right, weird.
Yeah,
but it's like these are these people, they live these like lives of kings, and they want to sit there and rebuke everything that they benefit from. But they don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
Right.
See, that's kind of what we kind of talked about earlier today too. Before we kind of turned ours on, we kind of get into the issue of put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna talk shit or be like, okay, I truly believe this and that. I believe reparations. I believe this and that. How have you contributed to these communities? How come you have this many yachts? How come I don't see you giving a house to these people? How come I don't see you doing any of these programs to people? Most of the stuff they do is for attention on media and just to get a platform. And that's where I think the issue when it gets into politics is people are just using other people as platforms just to elevate themselves up, but not actually solving any of the issues. And it's very, very easy for people I would say, in those situations to lean more towards the left because of that, because it's something that resonates with them, right? That's something that they dealt with. That's something that they're just like, okay, someone's speaking for me, but in the end, they're not really speaking for you. Because if they were, their money would line up with their values, but they almost never line up with their values.
Right, they still want their 4 yachts and their
Yeah.
private jets, and they want to be buddy with the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world.
Yeah,
And
they're not buying water treatment plants for us to save the water. They're not figuring out the blue-green
Flint,
algae
Michigan.
problem. They're not doing any of
yeah.
these issues. They're just
Or
talking-
or they're giving enough to say, well, I am doing something. I'm giving $30,000 of my $300 million, to this and that.
But
But
then
it's
they
like
make a media spectacle of
Exactly,
it, right? They're like, I
exactly.
got some
And
lunch
it's like-
boxes for some kids. All
Yeah.
right, but did you solve the issue, or did you just get some lunch boxes for kids so you don't have to pay taxes
Yeah.
this year?
exactly
Right.
like
and that's the big
yeah.
part of the tax issue. It's a big part. And a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people hear foundations. They have no idea what foundations really
Those
are.
are so corrupt.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, foundations are basically tax havens for the ultra rich to still use some of their money instead of it going to Uncle Sam, to Washington, D.C. They get to still control their money. For example, if they fly somewhere for some kind of conference on something, their foundation pays for it versus that same amount of money going to the IRS for their taxes. So I think if the average American could see, let's say if the average American Democrat could see the taxes of some of the Hollywood types compared to what they think the corrupt Republican corporatist types are, they might actually see a lot of similarities. I want to cut to the bone here on that one. And then this is a kind of direct hypocrisy that I think we're sort of talking about here. And we're not, I don't know what the other two panelists are thinking, but we're not necessarily okaying what the other side does either. We're just trying to put it all on the table here. And today, as you say, we're going to go after the limousine libs. We can go after the Cadillac conservatives another, a country club conservatives another day.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, I see a lot of that, and then me and you were kind of talking about like how do we fix the problems going forth, right? Because I think now we're in that kind of tricky era where people are more educated now. Not so much that one side's more educated than the other, but with the boom of technology, it's easier to get information now. But at that same token, it's easier to get misinformation at the same time. So I think that's where the issue kind of comes in, because you got the left telling you like, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, and we already know historically, if you trust the government, what happens? It doesn't come true. That's why all those promises haven't happened to begin with, because you trusted the government to do these treaties. The treaties never happened. You trusted the government for your 40 acres and a mule. Guess what? It never happened. So now, fast forward to 2020, now you got some old white guy, Bernie Sanders, talking about, I'm going to do this for you. History tends to repeat itself. I hate to break it to a lot of people, but chances are he's not going to give you your 40 acres and a mule. He's not going to give you your reparations. He's using you for a vote. He's going to get up there and they're going to do what the government always does, is not keep their promises. And if anything, they'll just try to do other things, create more laws, take your guns away, do all kinds of other stuff. And before you know it, you're like, well, that was a way worse choice.
And I think that it's complicated issues need to have complicated answers. And when it comes to stuff like that, so much of that happened so far in the past, and we've gotten so far ahead now. It's like we can't go back in time and fix this, right? And some people think we can. Some people think that reparations are that answer, And I don't know. I am not sold on the idea that it is, right? Because I see a lot of opportunity, economic opportunity here in America for everybody. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need tradesmen, right? And those careers stack, starting at $40,000 a year, going up to $120,000 or more, right? Depending on how hard you're working at it, right? So, and most of these kids, especially on the liberal end of the spectrum, they want to make six figures with their art history degree or their sociology degree, being a high school counselor. And it's like, that's not what the market derives or sees any value in. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need all these kinds of things, right? So if a whole generation of minority communities just outworked and outbeat everybody else, then their financial average income, if you would say, would just scale, right? And I think the time is now more than ever for something like that to happen. But it has to be something that's taught, and it's kind of stems from cultural roots, if you will.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that too. Kind of cultural upbringing, family. where the differences lie, where people are kicking out their kids really early, where others are investing in their children, realizing that your children is an investment, and then pushing them towards certain goals, right? And I think that's where the kind of issue goes to as well. I told you about Killer Mike. There's a great little documentary that he does on called Trigger Warning on Netflix, where he kind of touches base on that, where he goes to a high school and he starts talking to these kids, and he's like, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And like a rapper, an actor. Well, this is what the kids are saying, right? Everyone wants to be the big show. They want to be on TV and do all this other stuff. And he goes, "That's the problem." Right. He's like, "How come none of you want to be a plumber? How come none of you want to be an electrician
or a doctor?"
Yeah, how come no one wants to take these jobs? And a lot of it stems from the home, right? Because they're taught at an early age like there's no way out. Like the only way out is you better be good at sports or you better know how to do something else.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, well, you're screwed. Because there's no fun here for you. We're not going to invest in you. We brought you to this world, and you're on your own.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of issues stem from. When you look at other cultures, like you were talking about before, like the ones that are historically really strong in the family.
Well, the ones not even historically, but the ones that right now are the most that do the best is the Jewish community and the Asian community.
Yeah, but they have very strong family
dominate.
bonds.
They dominate. The average Jewish household makes about $120,000 a year. The average. That's not high. That's average. The average Asian household income is over $80,000. The average white household income right now is like 61, 62. And then the average black household is something like 44,000. The average Latino is something like 42, and the average Native American is something like 29. So even when in the reparations discussion, I mean, the white and black community are the two that are kind of sit in the middle, right? And a lot of the right will kind of say, well, the Asian community doing so well, that's just the proof that anyone can do anything, and it's like, well, I do think that some of the disadvantages of what's happened in the past has affected everything.
Oh, absolutely.
But like I pointed out, if in culture we can really turn the tide by teaching these kids, hey, maybe in order to kickstart your rapper career, go be an electrician for 10 years, right? That way when you're 28, okay, you have got stacks that you can invest in a home studio. Take $10,000 you saved over 10 years, you made over $1 million as an electrician, right? Take $10,000, invest in a home studio, and start rapping in your free time, right? Maybe do electrician stuff part-time. Make $30,000-$40,000 a year as an electrician part-time. And then pursue a rapping career.
And I think a lot of those problems come because we don't teach a lot of economics in school anymore, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't realize, hey, I can get these regular jobs, right? And I can stack my money to invest it into something I really want to do, right? If I want to own a gym, I can be an electrician for a while, save my money, buy gym equipment, and then try to find a place that I can rent out. Do it on the side, keep working, and hopefully that comes to fruition. If it does, awesome, but I still have something lined up so I'm not like putting all my eggs in one basket. And that kind of goes into like diversifying portfolios and things that they don't talk about in school, which is I think a massive issue. It's not just cultural, but it's the education system as well.
Yeah,
Which
we all know the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah, right. Everyone's going to school, and the school's telling you go to college, you get a job, but that's not the case anymore. That's not the case. At one time, it was the case, but now I think it's
more people are catching on to this now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's taking this long, but more people in the huge bubble of the education system, it does need to pop. So, but what's really good here is way like you're getting into specifics, and that is what's really important. And you don't have enough of this out there, especially in the world of talk radio. There's just a lot of generalizations. And now, Zach, you brought up reparations, so I didn't know you wanted to go.
I think Sweden brought it up the first time, but yeah.
Too far, you did, too far down the racial rabbit hole here, but you want to?
Sure,
obviously we start out with the white limousine liberals, and that's fine. But because you brought reparations.
I really want to rip into the white liberal in general because I think I had a buddy of mine from Williams Bay who's really well off. Okay, jumping on me on Facebook, defending ethno-minority groups and everything, and I'm like, you're some rich kid in Williams Bay, dude. Like,
because
I've got friends on my Facebook who of many ethnicities. Okay. If I'm saying something out of line, they're gonna jump in. You know, they don't need some white upper crusty kid defending them, and then put your money where your mouth is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like this guy, he's going to college, but I don't think he makes $30,000 a year. So it's like, why don't you get your life together? and then with your excess money, you can start investing in black businesses and Latino businesses if that's something that you want to pursue.
If you feel
because the
strongly
government's
about
not
it.
going to do it.
Yeah,
They're not
right.
going to uphold their promises, right?
So your friend probably has some white guilt, is what they would call it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, I didn't want to get too deep into the African American situation, but if you want to, we can. And it's also something that's really big for me. I think this is something that you need to have a podcast with someone of color.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel too awkward. So whoever's listening right now, if you're like, "Hey, he's a white guy. I don't want to hear this shit from him," I get that, I guess, but I'm going to say it anyway because if you don't mind, I'm just going to go down this road. We can do it quick because you brought up a bunch of different ethnic groups, and it is really important, especially to understand the left as to where the left is right now in our country. The left is really, I think, using a lot of this identity politics to divide people, and it's really sickening, and it's really disgusting, and I want to be clear on this about the whole black situation in America. I know as a white guy, again, people are going to say you're unqualified, or they're going to say what I'm about to say is insightful, or that I'm hateful, and this is what they would do. But if you listen to everything I'm about to say, this is not about hate. This is really more about wanting things to be better, but you have to sometimes talk about the problem in a realistic way that I'm about to. So anyway, here goes. Dive in real quick. So I really have seen the left in America take the chip on the shoulder that the African American community has, that I won't deny that they have a right to have it, okay? But what I see them doing is sort of like taking steroids and injecting them into that chip on the shoulder instead of concentrating, as Sway was trying to do here a little while ago, talk about specifics of what is going to improve things, because that's what really needs to get talked about. That's what's lacking in the world of talk radio, I think, right now. There's a lot of just hyperbole and generalizations, but not enough specifics. When you're talking about careers, you talk about economics not being taught in schools. All that is extremely important, and it's extremely important for everybody, again. But if you want to narrow it down, like so you mentioned reparations, and that's a whole topic right there. I mean, one could argue if reparations were done right, okay, just for a limited period of time, and then they stopped, maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, maybe it would help some people. Maybe it would end some racial tension, like, well, we did this for a while, and here's the result. It's either good or bad, or not. That it's just kind of neutral. I mean, there really are probably good arguments either way, but unfortunately, as we were talking earlier, and Sway, you were saying, government probably wouldn't institute it right. No. That would be the problem. Yeah. They probably wouldn't do it right. But I mean, we could sit here, and people listening right now could sit there, and you could come up with probably easy to think of good ways. Loans to small businesses, for example, in bad neighborhoods, and some politicians have even talked about that. And give them tax benefits in certain lower income neighborhoods. Education grants, which are a lot out there. A lot of people just don't know about them. You have to find them. You really have to dig them out. But ones that are going to be for real fields, whether blue collar, or as you say, like the trades act you're talking, or
STEM fields,
or if it's going to be in a 4-year degree or beyond. But things that there's going to be demand for, not just willy-nilly whatever you want to pick.
Basket basket weaving degrees.
It's got to be things that are going to be demand for 10 years from now. Yeah. That and stuff like that. I mean, you could argue that some programs like that may actually be productive, or as the left would say, progressive. Mm-hmm. But when we want to talk about Black America, I just want to throw it out there right now. The left is full of Band-Aids and what was the word you were using off the mic, placebos, and just all kinds of nonsense. So they'll be, we want more money for education. And I know I just said money for grants. If you're talking about certain college things, I'm being very specific about something. But I mean money in general for education. They want for different schools. They'll want gun control, for example. They want things like this. And they think this is going to solve it. So I would just want to throw on the table. There's 3 main things that have to happen. Or at least one of these 3, or 2 of these 3, for Black America and America really in general. But I'm talking specifically to urban, in the city, African Americans, and those 3 things are: the drug problem's got to get under control. Our nation has a huge drug problem, and this is not just in the cities. This is all over. It goes in the rural part of our country, and this is every aspect of life. There is no discrimination. If you're a poor person of color, or you're some rich guy who gets into coke, I mean, drugs will destroy you ultimately in life. Some people can dabble in them, and they can get away from it. Thank God. But some people, they get hooked, and their whole lives just go down the toilet, and that's. That's across the board.
Yeah, I think we all have someone we know like that. So,
unfortunately, and that's very sad. Everybody probably knows somebody, that they love or has been in a big part of their life, or they're a close friend or relative. We have a drug problem in this country, and it's definitely, and why so much of it ends up in the urban parts of our country. I'm so angry at Mr. and Mrs. America for not asking that question, because it's not grown there. They could try to put it in a movie. Oh, this big warehouse, we grew a bunch of stuff. Yeah, okay. I don't think there's really a whole lot of that going on. Most of it's coming from far, far away places. So that's a whole topic for another day. Yeah. But that is a big question mark that a lot of Americans...
The war on drugs is a massive topic.
Yeah, that should be a big topic. But drugs are clearly a part of what is hurting Black America. And then, as you mentioned, Zach, the family unit, and this is something that liberals or modern-day liberals, and I hate to say that word because I feel like real liberals... they don't really exist anymore. We're dealing
the whole
with these...
spectrum has shifted to the left. So what was a moderate liberal 10, 15 years ago is now a moderate or almost conservative now. And that to me is mind-boggling. Guys like Joe Rogan are getting associated with the alt-right when he votes Democrat. It's like that's the kind of stuff where it's like
it's getting crazy. Yeah, it's getting crazy
weird.
out there.
Weird.
So drugs one, the other one is family, and I always want to bring up the family unit's got to get stronger. And of course, again, that is also across the board. Okay, coming from many Caucasian white families, but the African American family, I don't know, the number is staggering of out of birth.
I think it's something like 72% single motherhood in the Black community.
Yeah, I mean, this has got to get better. The situation's got to improve. And as you were saying, like Sway, you were bringing up the different paths, and Zach, you're talking about welding and stuff like that. More blue-collar jobs, more decent-paying jobs. And again, this, of course, helps everybody. This is across the board for a lot of white people, too. But blue-collar jobs that pay better and to reinforce the middle class. Things, at one point in the 1970s, this is before you guys' time, but there were things in America in some areas that were actually starting to get better, believe it or not. There were some things that really were starting to change in America. I was just a little kid, but it was happening, and music was a great unifier, as it still is. The arts are great, sports are great for unifying, but I really think there's just been a lot going on with the modern day left where they just don't get it, where they are trying to use identity politics to divide people and say, well, you're this, so you got to vote. You got to vote this way. You got to just what you got to do. You don't got to do anything.
Yeah, that's another big problem of the left too, right? Is the moment you go on the other side, the conservative, then it's like you gave up on your people or whatever it may be, which always confuses people when I tell them that I lean more right than I do left, and the reason being is I don't believe in government control. Now I don't agree with a lot of things on the conservative side per se, right? There's a lot of things I don't agree with, and we'll get into that later, not today. But overall, I do believe in free market. I do believe in smaller government because you just can't trust the government. I worked in the government. I was in the Army for 6 years. I would never want them to run anything. Have you seen the VA? It's horrible. You want that for
How many
everybody.
tours did you do?
I did a tour. I did one tour in Iraq. And then,
wow.
I was over there. And like I said, but I wouldn't want them to run anything. It's a shit show, right? It's it's just a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of bullshit, and then by the end of the day, nothing gets done. It's a lot of standing around and hands in pockets.
Yeah.
And then kind of touching base a little bit on the reparations, they wouldn't even do that right either. They wouldn't do anything right. And when you kind of get in the reparations and stuff like that, I mean, I believe there has to be something has to be done, right?
Yeah.
Rather it's making things easier acceptable to minorities to get into small businesses, maybe giving them
the loan idea is a great idea.
Or bigger
tax credits.
Yeah, bigger tax breaks or credits, making them more accessible. I mean, getting a liquor license is outrageous, right? You have to be almost rich to own a bar. So going into those rural areas to be like, hey, we're gonna give you a bar or like stipend the license so you guys actually afford to do it and open a business, I think would be extremely beneficial, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of plays into, once again, economics,
Yeah.
where people don't know where to kind of use their money. And at the end of the day, it's like, do we want to dictate what they use their money for, or do we want to help them grow as a community as well?
Yeah.
And I think that's where things get kind of tricky, because then you get people who are just like, well, this is what I'm owed. It doesn't matter if I want to buy a Cadillac or if I want to buy a gym, right? It doesn't matter, because this is just what I'm owed. But I still think we got to have the economic talk where it's like, hey, let's make it more accessible for you to do things. You know what I mean? Like, let's make these communities stronger. Let's help them out the best we can, right?
Yeah.
But then it gets weird when we start talking about, like, when you told me your immigrant family from like Russia and Poland and stuff of that nature, escaping communism and stuff like that. So
Well,
it's
right. Like, how do you
force those
how
people?
are you going to tax all white people? Well, not all the white people benefited from slavery, right? And then there's going to be a liberal talk or liberal argument of, oh, you do benefit because of everything that came before you, and you know, oh, the judicial system is less on you, and then less sentencing and everything. And it's like, well, there might be some truth to that, but my ancestors, you know, didn't own slaves, right?
But
And
the
stuff
same,
like
but the
that.
same talk when we talk about the judges, who runs
And there
that?
were
The
so
government.
many. There were also the ones that they're mad at are more the Anglo-Saxon. You know, it's the Old English blood, Old Spanish blood, Old French blood. Right? Those are the ones that came over here. They scalped the Native Americans. They killed the Aztecs, and they took slaves from Africa.
And the
Caribbean
Native American
stuff.
issue is another
You know,
massive
it's like,
issue.
Right,
That's
but
a
yeah, and we could do a whole show on that one too. But then you've also got other white ethnic communities that were also oppressed by those same groups, the Irish and the Scots, right? The Irish and the Scots, they had the prima nocte in Scotland, where the English lords got to have sex with a bride of any man, so that they would literally breed English blood into the Scotland to kind of like wipe them out, right? And they taxed them literally into living into stone huts and everything, you know. Then you got everything that went on in Russia with the serfs and the czars, and then the Soviet Union, and Stalin, you know, made Hitler look like a pea plant, dude. He killed like 15-20 million of his own people. We don't even know
And
how big some of those
that's the importance
body
of
stacks were.
knowing history, though. Is once you start diving deep into history, you start realizing that all these countries are fucked up, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we're a newer nation, though we still have a lot of fuck ups. You know, as far as like genocides, and we've had concentration camps here. Like, our hands aren't clean here. It's just kind of like, how do we move forward? How do we do these things? And I think that's a lot of the issues that people are using as platforms, and that's my problem with the left. Is they're just standing on these people's shoulders, but I don't think they're gonna actually help them up, because they have no real plans. They just talk.
That's my issue with some of these people. The people standing on these shoulders of whoever, they're white. Okay, so you want to sit there
They're
and like,
all white
oh,
candidates.
Yeah.
All old white candidates.
Look at all. Yeah. So we got an election year coming up here. This is early 2020, January 2020, and yeah, we have every single one of our Democratic candidates.
Except Andrew Yang.
Except for Andrew Yang.
Except for Andrew Yang.
Now, Tulsi's still out there, but they don't let her into the debates. Okay, so I don't know.
I'm gonna write her in. I
don't know what she's. No, I don't know what she's technically. She's Samoan partially, or she.
I think she's
from
Hawaii
or Indian by descent. Yeah,
I'm
from
not sure.
India, Indian.
Yeah. I'm not sure. That would be interesting to look up, but. She is Hindu, I believe. She's the first Hindu congresswoman.
Yeah.
She was in the military. I mean, all these based on the left's whole tribal identity politics platform that they want to preach. I'm very surprised more of these people aren't getting behind Tulsi Gabbard. They want to get behind the rich white Jew Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, between those, between her
and they don't want to get behind. And then Andrew Yang.
They're not letting him in debates.
What are you saying, Jack? I got a couple houses. That's all. It's just a big deal. It's just that's not that great. It's something, you know.
You pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You know, it's the American way.
No.
I'm feeling bad for Bernie. I just want to be careful. That's why I just want the lefties who might be listening out there. I'm actually feeling bad for Bernie right now, because if you guys haven't noticed, just as of late, there's like a concerted effort to really. He's like in the crosshairs big time now. They really want to go get Bernie, get him out. We want Bernie out.
I think he's just trying to retire, man. I think
Sort
he's
of,
got to
I
get
don't know.
one term in the office, and he can call it a day. Never has to work
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, that's
I would
right.
like, I mean, I wouldn't mind him going in just to cancel all the student debt. That he talks about that.
Well,
I'm like,
well, it would be fun, and who knows? You silly Democrats. If Bernie had been the candidate last time, I'm just saying. I don't think I could be wrong. You can look it up. I don't know if Hillary really had 10,000 people show up here, show up there. I mean, Bernie had some huge rallies. He was really tapping into something.
Well, I think that's because he's getting a lot of people on his side because he's shaking hands with a lot of big people in the music industry. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like rappers who are backing him.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. So
Okay.
like when you
Okay.
you get into the music industry, kind of when you're talking about like music being the great unifier, you start talking to these people, these rappers, these musicians, they have a very big platform. So when they go on their Instagrams or their Facebook or whatever, they have like 2 million followers and they're like, I support Bernie. Everybody's like, holy shit, like,
Yeah.
so and so supports Bernie. And then that's how,
it
that's how you
is.
kind of like, that's what happens though.
John Cusack
but
just did a
true.
speech in Chicago for Bernie Sanders. He
Wow.
just did it,
Yeah.
and so
That's interesting.
I do agree. I do think that if they put him up against Trump last time, Trump probably would not be in office.
It's hard to say because I mean, Bernie really had and then Hillary blew it by not taking Bernie as her running mate. Here's this
Yeah.
guy had all this
Yeah.
momo. The momentum is just a huge thing. And Bernie was getting people interested in politics who I don't think had been interested in politics. Much like Ron Paul in 2012, he was getting all these college kids to pay attention to this amiable old doctor from Texas who wasn't Mr. Excitement, but yet the college kids were all behind him. And Mitt Romney goes, I don't know what to do. I'll just take this Paul Ryan as my running mate, who never delivered Wisconsin at all. So what a joke that was. We can get into that some other time. But yeah, the hypocrisies of the modern left are just terrible. And one of the things that I want to just also bring up is that, we got into the Black America thing, reparations a little bit. And you did some of the racial stuff. And it's just what is terrible about the left is they love to talk about all the negative. And we know there's negative, okay? And then, by the way, just whoever's out there listening, nobody here is saying that the negative should be swept under the rug, okay?
Things can always get better.
Slavery is
things
awful.
can always get better. Always.
The near genocide, as you're alluding to, Sway, of all the Native Americans that were here, awful. All that's awful. All that should be in history books forever. We have good, we have bad, and we have ugly. All this stuff should never be forgotten. If and I'm not saying forgiven either, but countries around the world, cultures around the world also have all these things. Now, I'm not saying, okay, well, this happened here, so it's okay, but, well, I mean, this is a part of human nature. The point is, the left does not talk about enough of the good of this country. That is one of their biggest problems. I mean, I could sit here, you guys, and I could tell you what a great, incredible American dream story Oprah Winfrey is. And it's true. And you guys would think, oh, God, he must be the biggest fan in the world. He must have a poster of her up his... I don't. But it's true. I mean, she is just this incredible rags to riches story, and America is just full of that. And I don't think you have that all over this planet. You do maybe in a few places, but not as much as you have here. And that's the thing that the left just does not want to ever talk about, how this is a land of opportunity. And yeah, there can be racism here. Yeah, there can be discrimination here. There can be all kinds of things. But you know what? People still make it.
Quite honestly, I don't think discrimination or racism will ever die. I don't think that. I mean, that's an illusion. To be fair, I mean, people have mindsets. You can try to change them, but it's almost like religion at that point. You can kill the man, but you can't kill the ideology, right?
Yeah.
Some people are just ingrained with it, and it's a hard topic to talk about because there's no way to really fix it.
Well,
There's no way to
also
really
you have
fix
to
it.
look at numbers, and I don't think enough people look at the numbers, right? I think people will kind of look at the socialist utopia of the Scandinavian countries, right? But they're all not only the size of an American county, right? I think literally Finland is like 233rds the size of the United States, population and land-wise, right? But they're also completely homogenous, right? Meaning they're all white. They don't have minorities.
Up until recently, yeah.
They don't have. It's like 2% of the population
the last
is
10 years, I think.
Yeah.
Denmark and some of those countries have brought in other people,
But
and
it's
they're
still
having some problems with that. But
well, right, but they're still like majorly homogenous, right? Whereas here in America, I'm pretty sure. Quote me if I'm wrong. You know, shoot us some comments here in the comment section. Prove me wrong. I'm pretty sure we are the most ethnic diverse country that exists on the planet. You know, and
if not the most, right up there, we have to be.
Well, right, we got to be in the top 3,
and
right?
definitely for our size. I don't know if anybody has 300 million in this.
Right,
this
compared
diverse.
to India,
Yeah.
China, Russia,
Yeah.
Canada, Germany, I think
Yeah.
are the only countries that come close to our
There you
our population size and our landmass. So America is like the ultimate experiment of if everyone around
It's
the
the
world
melting pot.
can
It
exactly
is.
if we
It
can
is the
all get
melting pot.
along, right? And we should all want that to work, right? We should all want that to work out,
And,
you know.
and I want the lefties who are listening, sorry to interrupt you, I want them to hear that because you got to say that. Otherwise, you go, oh, you said this stuff about Black America. Oh, you're in the KKK. No one here's in the KKK to my knowledge, and I would have a problem with that if they were. So,
Yeah.
no one's in the KKK. No one's a neo-Nazi. No one's a white supremacist. And the thing is that, and I want to bring this up, but see, if I say it in the way I want to say it, they're going, oh, you want to incite, you're trying to incite hate, I'm just trying to tell you how it is. You know, Whitey has had a good run here in America. I'll give it that, but that's no guarantee. So you lefties out there listening right now, that's no guarantee of anything. Okay, there is no guarantee. My grandpa, this would be some of your great grandpas, won World War II. Okay, so I think for decades there was this, we're number one. You know, you won, and of course you're a veteran, so you even know this feeling even more real, and you know your adrenaline's been pumping. I imagine in life and death situations. You know, so you know this feeling, and Grandpa won. My grandpa, in this case, won World War II. So there's feeling of the United States was number one. Okay, then there was the Cold War, and then the Soviet Union's fall apart. So then we're like the lone superpower, even though we're becoming more and more of a paper tiger because of our own internal problems. But
Even though we lost to Vietnam.
But
Shh, no one talks about that.
but we'll talk about that topic another show. But and I think there's just this whole, well, you know, we're on top of everything, and everybody forgets that every generation has its role to play, and some generations may not have as heavy of a load. Obviously, the World War II generation had a huge load. They grew up in the Depression, very poor. Then they had to fight this World War. They won it. Then the huge industrial, kick in to help the rest of the world get rebuilt, and we were number one on top and everything. And so now things are changing, and we're having to deal with a lot of other challenges. Every generation is going to have its challenges, again, some more than others. And I think people need to realize that and think about that. But as far as white people go, you got to understand that this is what nobody wants to say. We want to say, this is a land of opportunity. Yes, it's very nice. But nobody wants to say it the way we need to say it. The United States of America, okay, and I don't know if Howard Zinn, Matt Damon, if you're listening, I don't know if he ever worded this way. Howard Zinn, by the way, was a big left-wing educator, and he wrote like a history of the United States, some big series of books or whatever. Anyway, Howard Zinn and those types is that there's no guarantee of here I want to back it up. I want to say this is the land of competition. This is what people really don't want to hear, really want to face. People come here, have come here, and are going to continue to come here from all points of the globe, everywhere around the world, for their own American dream. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what this country is all about. So I want to be clear to all those lefties. Oh, this is some right wing. Oh my God, this is some alt-right. This is all these people hate people. No, this is a true platform. This is what people want to talk about on this platform is truth. There's a lot to talk about, and a lot of it is controversial. It's not easy to talk about, but this is what this land is, and we need to remember that when people go, "Oh yeah, the white man." Well, okay, you had, as you point out, Zach, it was the English. It was the Spanish. It was the French. Even Russia was part of here, and then Mexico came up. Had part of the West there, they took that from the Adobes and stuff, and there was battles and stuff. Yeah. I mean, there's a long history here of, unfortunately, a lot of bloodshed, a lot of ugliness and a lot of people competing over the land. You know, Spain had what we call Florida, I believe now. It took that from the Seminoles for a while.
You can rip into Spain too.
I mean, you know, and then the Spanish.
Look, we didn't always have the Olympics to compete with one another.
Yeah, we didn't.
This is ancient Olympics here.
I mean, you know,
Except you got to win a country.
You know, and France had a, you know, just man, why did we give up that Louisiana Purchase? You know, why did we do that? You know, I mean. You know, and Russia probably with Alaska. And I don't know if Russia had part of what's California, Northern California. They were there. I don't know if they claimed it or what the deal was. But anyway, I mean, our whole history is just a big mishmash. And again, we are the land of competition. And I think that everyone should embrace that and know that's what America's all about. We're all about liberty. We're all about freedom. And people coming here from all over the globe. We really are the great melting pot. So I want to say that as a champion thing, you know,
some people don't like the competition because they're not good at it, and I think that's kind of the heart of the alt left is they don't like the competition because they're not good at it, and so they want the competition to either get easier or there to be no competition, and that's what they're trying to flatten everything out to equality of outcome, right? Not equality of opportunity, it's equality of outcome. Right? They want a doctor to get paid, and a doctor and a lawyer to get paid the same as the underwater basket weaving person and the art history person and the librarian, right? And it's like there's some of that that's good. You have to have people that champion the bottom of the hierarchy, but you need the hierarchy. You need the competition.
That's never going to happen.
You know, you're never going to squash the competition.
Well, that's the beauty of America is that it's a marketing thing, right? It's competition. It's where it's like, okay, well, the market dictates pay. Right? If there's a need for art history and people are like really gravitating towards it and that's where all the money's going, the art history major is going to get paid more money because that's where the money's going. Yeah. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that you're the reason why certain things are happening. And when you start taking responsibility of your own paycheck and your own problems, you start allocating those funds to the things you believe are more beneficial or that should be given more money. Then those things start to skyrocket. Football only makes so much money is because you all watch football and you all buy the jerseys and you all do that shit. Yeah. If you stop buying all the jerseys and stop buying all the pay-per-view, they'll be poor. They don't have any money anymore.
There you go.
Exactly.
So it's your fault.
And I just want to add to that what Sway just said to the people out there listening, because a lot of this generation may not know this, but back in the early I think it's just as back as the early 70s, there were actually a lot of sports stars. Not everybody. Maybe the main sports stars they had their gig as a sports star. But a lot of the guys had to go take real jobs during the off season.
Oh yeah, they used to make. I think the average NFL player was like making like $20,000 a year or something like something low. It was like an average income. Now they make millions, but that's because market dictates.
Yeah.
People get mad like all these actors and these football players and they make so much money. Stop watching movies.
Right.
You're the problem.
Yeah.
Every time you buy that box office ticket.
Yep.
Every time you buy that ticket to the football game, you're the issue. You can't be mad at fucking Brett Favre if you go to his games and then you buy his jerseys and you're like, why the fuck does he have a fucking mansion? He's using your money.
Yeah.
You're the reason. Like, go shake his hand, like, hey man, how's my money?
Right. There you go. And that
I've been paying you for the last 20 years. Like, looks like you're doing good.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady has in Beverly Hills. He has like a gigantic. Look it up. He has like a gigantic castle mansion. Has a moat around it, water around it. Yeah,
Jesus,
it's because everyone loves them and everyone buys his shit.
That's all.
If you don't like somebody, then stop paying them. That's how it kind of works, right?
Yeah, and maybe that's a theme for a show at some point. Better ways to deal with capitalism. How we need to make better choices if we, depending on what our beliefs are, or what we care about. But
put your money where your beliefs are, and a lot of people don't do that. They just complain.
Can I just say? And I can say one thing. We're almost running out of time here. I'm not sure what your time is here, but I really hope that there are some modern lefties listening to this program out there. I really hope there are some who are listening, and they're maybe they start out hating, and maybe along the way they're getting a few little seeds to think about. But and this is so not important in the big picture, guys. But it's so big. It's right in everybody's face. It drives me nuts. Late night talk. What the hell? They're all white. They're all guys. What's going on? I think there's an Indian woman now later at night. But it's like what is all that about? So for all you whacked out lefties out there, who want to believe that everybody's a cliche and everybody's a stereotype, and some people are, by the way, but. But as a white guy, I don't like this. I got 3 white guys, 2 Jimmys and a Steven to deal with every night. It's just ridiculous. It is just ridiculous. There's nothing.
Another one's telling you about minority jobs and this and that, and that's their anchor man. That's their person, their spin person.
Steve Myers is like, he's one of them, right? He came from SNL?
He's after one, but yeah.
Oh.
So even the second tier after those guys, I think
always
it's
hated
more
that guy.
white
I always
people.
hated him,
You got
yeah.
James Corden, English white guy.
Okay.
And then you got Seth Meyers. You're talking about another white guy. It's just like what? What? I don't need. I just no.
Where's the diversity?
Right.
But yeah, the variety.
Hey, if the Republicans really want to make a massive splash, just start having a bunch of like minority talk show hosts. It's over.
Yeah.
They should.
Late
Yeah,
night Republicans,
absolutely.
They really should,
African
though.
American, Hispanics,
Right.
everyone else but white, and then all of a sudden they're like,
I
"What's
think it's-
going on?" And really paint a picture.
Well,
for
I
everybody.
think that's coming.
And they make
I think that's
stupid
coming.
amounts of money just for what they do.
Which
And they
is-
do. They make millions.
It's millions just to
Which is
sit and
normally
chat.
just exciting division, I think. Exciting playing the role of like separation in America. That's mostly what they do. They just kind of divide and separate and conquer. But that's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you do it historically.
Yeah.
That's what you do. The best way to kind of take over a place. You can't break a bunch of like Genghis Khan. He held up all the arrows together as a bundle, and he's like, you can't break this. Grab one arrow, snaps right in half. Right,
Yeah.
but a bundle of arrows together, you can't
Ooh.
break it.
Yeah.
You can't.
There we go.
You can't. So
Yeah.
that's what I think the left's trying to do. They're just trying to make everyone into an arrow. It's easier to take over that way.
Well, right. I
Yeah.
often hear people
Very
talking
nice.
about the left eating itself. Right. It is kind of like, and it kind of goes back into that metaphor. And there's an old song by Alter Bridge called "Rise Today," and there's a couple of good lyrics in there. One of them I really like was it says something like, "It seems to me that we've got each other wrong. Was the enemy just your brother all along?" And now it's a song from like, I don't know, 2010 or something. It's from like 10 years ago, but I love the line. I love that line because I think that's what we're seeing, especially today, is we think this person on Facebook or whoever that disagrees with us politically is our enemy, when in reality they just want us to be fighting each other so that they can all profit in the end,
But
right?
if everyone just sat down and talked to one another, I think a lot of the issues would be fixed, right? I mean, we had a similar situation between me and you happen not that long ago.
Yeah,
We're on
yeah.
Facebook going back and forth, and then you just gave me a phone call, and then at the end of the day, we agreed on a lot of the same shit.
And here we are.
And it was
You
just a
roll right.
misunderstanding. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm not like that. And you know what? I think that happens a lot. And I said, I think
Yeah.
that's another topic for discussion is the influence of technology and how it kind of makes things a little more tense, right? Because you're
Yeah.
reading it a different way. I'm reading it a different way. Everyone's reading the same text, but you get 50 different variations from the same exact words.
Right.
And then before you know it, you think someone's this and then someone's that. But then no one sits down like this and has an actual conversation to
Right.
kind of go through the motions and be like, hey, I don't really think that way. This is where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the issues we're running into now, especially because we have a generation now that's been raised purely in technology.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we got to talk about later, is kind of
Yeah.
like how that's affecting things and how that kind of changes the views of everything, because it's just all out there now. It's just so easy for information to get out. And it's a
Yeah.
good thing and it's a bad thing all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
And it does it gives a megaphone to a lot of the small groups, right? Very small groups. Probably in some regards less than 1% of the population just gets this huge platform in some areas, and I totally agree there. So, but we can also fact check everything.
Right.
Google.
But you can't even trust those either, because half the time,
That's
some,
true,
some, of,
sometimes.
some of
Yeah.
those push agendas.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should start wrapping up here, though.
Yeah. So, what do we got for any final comments here?
Well, I think we've thrown a lot on the table today, so we can come back and revisit some of this stuff. But again, this is a great country, and this is a land of immigrants, and it is a great melting pot. And I wish that people could talk more about that and champion that a little bit more. And sports is a great, like I said, you've got uniter, music especially, and again, we're not. I don't think we're as bad as some people like to make us out to be. Barack Obama was elected twice. Okay, I mean, a lot of people thought they'd never see that in their lifetimes. Well, my white grandmother has a picture of Barack Obama right by her bedstand. Okay, I mean, and I don't know. There could be a lot of Republicans out there who could have Reagan pictures in their house. I've seen a little bit of that in my life, and when I grew up, there was a lot of John F. Kennedy pictures were in people's homes. So. I mean, things are, I think, getting better, but there still are the forces out there trying to divide, and I think we need to concentrate on the basics. Sway, you brought up a lot of good things today with the blue-collar jobs. Zach, you did as well. I think the drugs are a huge issue for everybody that I brought up,
the drug war is just so racist,
Yeah,
and we lost.
and we'll
we
get into
lost
that.
the drug war. We need to admit that these billions of dollars we're spending on the drug war
But we're not
are
gonna
a
dive.
waste.
We're not going to dive into that.
That's a whole
That's a
podcast.
whole, there'll be a whole show. There'll be a whole
That's a whole
show.
show.
There'll be a whole show right there. But we talked about some of the solutions, and like I said, we'll get into the problems with the right on another show.
Oh, yeah.
If you want, we can do that too. There's a lot of hypocrisies there, a lot of myths there, a lot of people wanting to believe in certain things that aren't really there, a lot of corporatism there. And we'll get into that kind of stuff on another show. So again, everybody who out there, thank you so much for listening, and please make sure to make some comments.
Yep, like and subscribe and all that jazz.
all that cool stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.